Are you searching for sacred destinations that carry the heartbeat of Catholic faith within the United States? The holy is not bound to distant cathedrals in Europe. It also flows through the soil of America. Scattered across this land are sanctuaries born from vows, miracles, and unshaken devotion. These sites are not mere monuments of stone, but living wells where grace overflows and faith takes form. Or in this video, we journey through the top 5 Catholic pilgrimage sites in the USA. Places where countless pilgrims have discovered healing, strength, and the quiet fire of God's presence. If you seek to walk deeper into the tradition that has shaped hearts for centuries, these are the destinations you cannot miss. Let us begin. If you enjoyed this journey of faith, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Number 1. In the quiet farmland of Wisconsin lies a place that outwardly seems simple, yet carries a weight of mystery and reverence unlike anywhere else in the nation. The National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. Unlike the majestic cathedrals of Europe, its beauty is not in marble or towering spires, but in the story rooted in its soil. It is the only Marian apparition site in the United States recognized by the Catholic Church, a distinction that sets it apart as a spiritual beacon. The origin reaches back to the autumn of 1859, when a young Belgian immigrant named Adele Bryce walked along a wooded trail near her family's homestead. There, between a maple and a hemlock, she was met by a luminous woman clothed in white, a golden sash at her waist, and a crown of stars above her head. 3 times the vision appeared, until Adele finally asked, in God's name, who she was and what she desired. The figure answered with words that would redirect the course of Adele's life. I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners. Gather the children and teach them what they should know for salvation. Those words became her mission. With no wealth, no formal institution behind her, and only the strength of her faith, Adele traversed the rugged countryside. She moved from farmhouse to farmhouse, offering catechism lessons, preparing children for the sacraments, and encouraging families who lived scattered across the frontier. Her teaching was simple, but her persistence was extraordinary. Over time, a small school emerged, and a circle of lay women joined her, forming a community dedicated to education, prayer, and works of mercy. The memory of Adele's vision remained alive for generations. Families told stories of healing, of prayers answered, and of burdens lifted on that sacred ground. Pilgrims arrived quietly, drawn not by spectacle but by the lingering sense of grace. More than a century later, the devotion was officially affirmed when the Church declared the apparitions worthy of belief, giving the shrine national recognition and honoring it with the title of Our Lady of Champion. Today, pilgrims still come by the thousands. Some arrive carrying silent sorrows, others with gratitude for blessings received. The shrine grounds are dotted with spaces for prayer, a modest chapel, a rosary walk shaded by trees, a small grotto, and a history center recounting Adele's mission. Many stop at the very spot of the apparition, leaving handwritten prayers, rosaries, and even tears that seem to blend into the earth itself. What makes this site striking is not grandeur but depth. The silence there carries a weight, as if the land itself remembers. The message entrusted to Adele: pray, teach, remain faithful. Echoes still, steady and enduring, like a quiet flame that has never gone out. Number 2. Nestled in the foothills of northern New Mexico, where the Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise in red and gold against the desert sky, stands a small adobe chapel that has become one of the most revered pilgrimage sites in the United States. El Santuario de Chimayo. Its walls are simple, built of earth and timber, yet within them lingers a mystery that draws hundreds of thousands each year. Pilgrims do not come for grandeur or spectacle. They come because something in this valley whispers of grace. Long before the chapel was raised, the land was regarded as sacred ground. Indigenous peoples are believed to have paused here for prayer and ritual, sensing the quiet power that clung to the soil. So, later, Spanish settlers carried their own traditions of devotion into the valley, weaving Catholic faith into the rhythms of the land. Over time, the area became a meeting point of cultures, where prayer, folklore, and lived faith fused into something enduring. The story most often told, begins in the early 19th century, when a man named Don Bernardo Abeta noticed a mysterious light shimmering on a hillside near the Santa Cruz River. Drawn by the glow, he began to dig into the earth with his hands and unearthed a crucifix. Humble in form, yet radiant in meaning, attempts were made to carry the cross to a nearby church, but each time, by morning, it had returned to the very spot where it was found. The message was unmistakable. The crucifix belonged to that place. A small chapel was built over the site, and the hill became a destination for those seeking God's presence in a tangible way. What sets Chimayo apart is not only the crucifix, but the soil beneath it. Beneath the sanctuary lies a small well of earth known as El Pochito. For generations, pilgrims have bent down to scoop the dirt with their hands, mixing it with water or pressing it gently on their bodies. Some take a pinch home, carrying it like a sacramental reminder of hope. The church itself does not declare the earth miraculous, yet it honors the devotion of the faithful who testify to its power. Many speak of physical healings, but others tell of burdens lifted from the heart, anxieties, griefs, and wounds soothed in ways beyond explanation. Step inside the shrine and the walls themselves speak. They are covered with crutches left behind by those who claim they no longer needed them, photographs of loved ones healed, handwritten prayers folded into corners, rosaries strung along the plaster. Each object is a quiet witness, a fragment of human longing offered to God. The atmosphere is not that of a museum, but of a living prayer, where every token left behind seems to breathe with gratitude and faith. El Santuario de Chimayo has come to be called the Lourdes of America, not for its size, but for the constancy of devotion that flows toward it. During Holy Week, tens of thousands make the journey on foot. Some traveling miles, others walking for days. They arrive weary yet resolute, carrying petitions, thanksgiving, or silent sorrow. Year after year, the same paths are walked again, as if the land itself has become a rosary of footsteps, worn smooth by devotion. The shrine's power lies in its quiet persistence. It does not seek to impress with wealth or grandeur. Instead, it offers stillness, where the prayers of past generations seem to hang in the air like incense, and where the earth itself feels steeped in mercy. Number 3. In the quiet neighborhood of Troy Hill in Pittsburgh stands a church so unassuming that many might pass it without a second glance. From the outside, St. Anthony Chapel appears modest, blending into the row houses and narrow streets that surround it. Yet, crossing its threshold is like stepping into another world. A sanctuary that holds one of the greatest hidden treasures of Catholic devotion in the United States. Behind its wooden doors lies a collection unlike anything found outside Rome itself. Over 5,000 relics, each carefully preserved, each carrying the weight of centuries of faith. The chapel was the vision of Father Soetbert Mollinger, a Belgian-born priest whose life bridged the physical and the spiritual. Trained as a physician before entering the priesthood, he tended both body and soul. His deep concern for human suffering led him to see the saints not only as examples of holiness, but as companions in the struggles of the faithful. Using his own fortune, he built this chapel in 1880, not to impress with grandeur, but to create a permanent home for the sacred relics he had gathered through travels and connections across Europe. The relics rest in hand-carved walnut reliquaries, arranged with reverence along side altars and chapels. Some are grand and unmistakable, fragments believed to be from the true cross, a thorn from Christ's crown, and even a stone from the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Others are humbler in appearance. A bone, a fragment of cloth, a vial of dust. Yet together they weave a vast tapestry of the Church's memory. The entire skeletal remains of Saint Demetrius are enshrined here, as well as the skulls of the martyred companions of Saint Ursula and the relic of Saint Theodore, each displayed in glass cases that invite silent reflection rather than spectacle. The space itself amplifies their presence. Along the walls, a life-sized set of the Stations of the Cross, imported from Munich and sculpted with painstaking detail, guides pilgrims through Christ's Passion. These figures, lifelike and solemn, stand not as decoration but as a visual pilgrimage, inviting worshippers to walk step by step with Christ while surrounded by the witness of martyrs whose lives were poured out for the same faith. What makes St. Anthony Chapel extraordinary is not only the sheer number of relics it houses, but the atmosphere they create. Pilgrims come seeking healing, historians come tracing the threads of centuries past, and ordinary visitors stumble in, only to find themselves standing in a place where time seems suspended. Here, the communion of saints is not an abstract teaching, but something palpable. The sense that countless lives of faith converge in this small chapel, whispering of endurance, sacrifice, and grace. For more than 140 years, this unassuming church in an industrial city has stood as a keeper of memory. Every relic, every carved figure, every quiet prayer breathed within its walls tells a story of faith that transcends generations. What began as the devotion of one priest has become a treasury where the church's history and holiness are gathered, one relic at a time. Number 4. In the quiet town of Cullman, Alabama, on the grounds of St. Bernard Abbey, lies a place that feels both intimate and immense in its spiritual reach. The Ave Maria Grotto. Set within what was once a rock quarry, the site has been transformed into a hillside garden where faith and imagination meet. Visitors wandering along its winding forested paths encounter an entire world in miniature. More than 100 replicas of sacred churches, monasteries, and holy shrines from across the globe. At the heart of this creation is Brother Joseph Zoettel, a Benedictine monk whose life was marked by simplicity and devotion. Born in Bavaria and later settling at St. Bernard Abbey, Brother Joseph lived quietly, working in the monastery's power plant and keeping largely to himself. Yet behind his modest exterior was a deep artistic spirit. What began as a small hobby grew into a vocation that spanned nearly 5 decades. With little more than determination and imagination, he built sacred architecture on a scale small enough to hold in one's gaze, yet vast enough to evoke centuries of Christian tradition. His materials were as humble as his lifestyle. Broken tiles from construction sites, fragments of brick, marbles, seashells, shards of glass, even old cold cream jars and discarded jewelry. All found new life in his hands. From what others saw as scraps, Brother Joseph assembled basilicas, abbeys, and biblical scenes that shimmer with color and texture. Without ever seeing the originals in person, he relied on photographs, postcards, and memory, infusing each replica with both precision and reverence. Among his creations are St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, Monte Cassino Abbey, and the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes, all carefully arranged along the hillside, inviting visitors into a journey through Catholic heritage. Yet the Ave Maria Grotto is not simply a collection of miniatures. Half of the hillside is dedicated to scenes from the Holy Land, allowing pilgrims to trace symbolically the path of Christ. From the quiet fields of Bethlehem to the hill of Calvary. The experience is not dramatic or imposing, but contemplative, leading visitors to pause, reflect, and walk slowly in the footsteps of faith. Brother Joseph never sought fame for his work. He built not for recognition, but as a silent offering to God. An act of devotion translated into stone, glass, and mortar. His persistence, stone by stone, transformed an abandoned quarry into a sanctuary that speaks without words. Over time, The grotto gained recognition for its cultural and spiritual value, eventually being listed among both Alabama and the nation's historic landmarks. Today, pilgrims and travelers alike continue to make their way to the grotto. Some come with heavy hearts, others out of curiosity, but all leave touched by the same quiet truth. This place was not built with wealth or grandeur, but with humility, patience, and faith, layered into every small stone and scene. Number 5. Trinity. In the quiet town of West Bend, Iowa, rises a creation so unexpected that it transforms an ordinary Midwestern landscape into a cathedral of stone. The Grotto of the Redemption, spanning an entire city block. This vast shrine is not just a single structure, but a sequence of 9 interconnected grottos, each one depicting a moment from the life of Christ. Step inside, and the ordinary dissolves. Walls shimmer with minerals, arches glow with crystals, and every surface seems alive with light and meaning. What makes the grotto extraordinary is not only its religious symbolism, but the astonishing palette of natural materials used in its design. Fossils older than memory, chunks of petrified wood, veins of quartz, sparkling amethysts, and semi-precious stones collected from across the continent are embedded into every curve and crevice. Rare minerals that might otherwise sit in museum cases instead become part of a living narrative carved in rock. The result is both a geological wonder and a spiritual masterpiece. The largest man-made grotto in the world, and perhaps one of the most unusual collections of natural treasures ever assembled in one place. At the heart of this monumental project stands the vision of Father Paul Dauberstein, a German-born priest who carried both the resilience of an immigrant and the zeal of a man bound by promise. Early in his ministry, stricken with pneumonia and near death, he made a vow to the Virgin Mary. If restored to health, he would build a shrine in her honor. When his strength returned, he did not forget. What began as a few stones gathered from fields soon grew into a lifelong mission. In 1912, he laid the first stones of what would become his magnum opus. For over 40 years, Father Dauberstein poured himself into the grotto. Often working by hand, stone by stone, piece by piece. Each rock was selected with intention, not only for its beauty, but for the meaning it could carry within the story of salvation. The work demanded patience, imagination, and a devotion that turned labor into prayer. Even after his death, others took up his vision, but the spirit of the grotto remains unmistakably his. A legacy etched into stone as both thanksgiving and testimony. Visitors who arrive today, pilgrims seeking grace, travelers chasing curiosity, families on summer journeys, find themselves surrounded by an otherworldly landscape. Paths lead through archways sparkling with gems, past sculptures of biblical scenes, into chapels where devotion is written not in paint or glass, but in layers of earth's raw beauty. Crutches, rosaries, and handwritten prayers left behind hint at the lives touched here, lives altered by wonder and faith. Beyond the grotto itself, the site has grown to include a small museum, a rock studio, and a souvenir shop, extending the story into art and education. In recognition of its cultural and spiritual importance, the grotto was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Yet its greatest value cannot be tallied in minerals or appraisals. It stands as a story in stone, of a vow kept, of faith made visible, of beauty born from devotion and endurance. From the jeweled stones of the Grotto of the Redemption in Iowa, to the humble miniatures of the Ave Maria Grotto in Alabama, from the relic-filled silence of St. Anthony Chapel in Pittsburgh, to the healing earth of Chimayo in New Mexico, and finally to the sacred apparition site of Our Lady of Champion in Wisconsin. Each of these places tells a story that is larger than itself. They are not simply landmarks or curiosities, but living witnesses to faith, devotion, and the enduring search for God in the ordinary soil of America. Together, they form a tapestry of hope and grace, reminding us that the sacred is never far away. It is written into the land, into history, and into the hearts of those who choose to believe. If you enjoyed this journey of faith, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more inspiring stories.